And we're now live. Sophia, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So we may as well get the ball rolling with the first question, which would be for those listening to you and me talking, tell us about your background and why you got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
All right, so I'm 21 years old. I've been training for 9 years now, so I started when I was about 12 and a half. I'm a brown belt under Jason Rao. I'm currently training out of Long Island, New York at a gym called BJJ, and I've been there for about a year and a half now. I got into jiu-jitsu because, well, for no particular reason. I know a lot of people like to get into jiu-jitsu because they want to meet new people, or they want to learn self-defense or lose weight, or they're just big MMA fans. But I kind of just fell into it. My dad was looking for a sport for my brother to try, just to like keep him active, because kids need to be active. They should play sports. So my brother wasn't really into any regular sports like baseball or soccer or anything like that. So my dad put him into mixed martial arts, just like a general mixed martial arts kids class. And I went with him to his little intro class, and the instructor invited me out onto the mat with him. So we kind of did it together, and I just instantly fell in love with it. I had such a great time. So I started off actually doing like a kids mixed martial arts class for 2 years. And then the instructor at that gym went and opened their own jiu-jitsu gym, and I followed her there. So that is when I started jiu-jitsu, like full time.
That's mental, because obviously doing that from a sort of a young age, you've kind of got the upper hand when going into sort of the adults sometimes, which is what I've
Oh
found
yeah,
when I'm trying
for
to
sure.
compete or whatever. I'm like, oh, how long have you been doing this for? And they're like, oh, like 10 years. And I'm like, okay, this is my second year, but we're both the same level belt. What's going on? Like, because obviously when you go from juniors to adults, I think the belt scheme changes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like when you turn 16, that's when you get your blue belt. And like you can start jiu-jitsu, I believe, at the age of 4. So by the time some people are 16, they've already been training for 12 years. And then like when you're an adult and you start jiu-jitsu, you get your blue belt within like a year to 9 months. And then when you both go out and compete in a local tournament, you're in the same bracket, and it's just like the adult usually gets smashed, and it's really not fair. But yeah, you definitely have the upper hand when you start at a younger age.
So with when did you like kind of first decide that you wanted to compete, or when did you first sort of do your competition? Like how long were you into jiu-jitsu before you stepped on the mats to compete?
So my first jiu-jitsu tournament, I was actually 11 years old, and it was back when I was still only doing that MMA program. And like with the MMA program, we would do like it was mostly like striking based, but they taught us like a couple takedowns. I think I knew like an armbar from closed guard. Like I knew like maybe like when the person stands up in my closed guard, you knock them backwards. It's called an ankle sweep. Like I knew a couple of basic things, but the coach there was like very into pushing kids to compete. So she pushed me and a bunch of other kids in that program to do a jiu-jitsu tournament. Um, Even though I looking back, I definitely did not have like the skills or the amount of training that would like assure that I would do well. So I kind of went out there when I was 11 years old, and I got completely smashed and I got hurt, and it was a terrible experience and I hated it, and I never wanted to go back out there. But this coach was really adamant about having her kids compete. So she just kept pushing me to do tournaments. Like my mom would sign me up and drag me there, and I'd go out there, and I hated it for the longest time until I started actually doing jiu-jitsu after she opened her gym. So that was probably like a year and a half later when she opened her gym, and I was doing jiu-jitsu every day, like for real. Like I was part of the kids competition team, and I finally got my first double gold at a tournament, and I was like, all right, I can get used to this. And that's when I started to really enjoy it. So I think I was almost 13 years old. So it's probably like 12 years old and like 10 months or something like that, like almost 13.
That's madness. So you were dealing with that sort of competition vibe at an early age. So do you still get like nerves now, or not as much because you're so like accustomed to stepping on the mat and just doing your thing?
I definitely still get nervous. The only time that I didn't get nervous was when I went from the kids ranks to blue belt, because when I would jump into local tournaments, I had all those years of training. Like I think I had like 4 or 5 years of training, and I would go out against adult blue belts who had maybe like 2 or 3 years of training, and I would just go out there and smash everyone. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. So like that was the only time where I didn't really get nervous. And then when I got my purple belt, that's when I started getting nervous for tournaments again, and it just, those nerves have never gone away.
What sort of things are you doing beforehand, like competition wise, to get yourself in a place that's like ready to compete? Like, do you have like a week build up, a month build up to get yourself ready? Is it on the day, you're just like, I'm going for it?
Do you mean like mentally or everything?
Yeah, so mentally, sorry, I should have been more descriptive. Yeah, mentally on that side of things.
Yeah. Okay. So I definitely try to not force myself to think or feel any kind of way, because I feel like when I'm trying to force myself into a certain like mental or emotional state, I'm kind of distracting myself from what I need to be focusing on and doing. So I really just try my best to be present in the moment. And I don't really have any rituals or anything, because I feel like rituals can feed superstitions. Like a lot of people have like these silly pre-competition superstitions, like they need to be thinking a certain thing, or they have to repeat like some kind of mantra like a bunch of times, or like they have to wear something specific, or they have to like eat only certain things, and if they don't do these things they're going to lose. And I think that that can be really, it can really limit your performance because you're focusing on so many things that when you think about it rationally would be really irrelevant, and they have no correlation to your performance. Yeah, it's just kind of like when you get into that mindset of like you believe that you need to do certain things to be able to win, then it's kind of distracting you from what you need to be focusing on. So like, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought.
That's right, it happens. I know what you mean though, like, because it's easy to fuck with someone that way as well. If you know that someone's got rituals, you can just fuck with their rituals, and you know that then suddenly in their mind they're going, oh, I'm just going to lose, like what's the point in turning up? Whereas if you don't have any sort of pre-competition, pre-rolling rituals, at the end of the day all you're relying on is your skills and obviously your own self-motivation to, deliver, basically. That's the way I look at it anyways. I don't have any sort of pre-ritual routines or anything like that. I just turn up and have a roll with people and have a laugh. Like, it's all good for me. I just think of it as fun. That's probably the best way I can describe it for me. I'm just like, yeah, this is fun. I never take it too seriously, which is probably why I get fucked up most of the time.
I mean, definitely focusing on like fun is important. In regards to like competition, I definitely just go out there and I try to stay present. I try to just focus on competing hard and having a good time and showing what I can do, instead of like worrying about little things that are like little superstitions and stuff. Like I try to just go in there and I can tell myself that I have the skills and the knowledge to be able to win this match. If I can just apply those skills, I'll be able to do it.
So what do you do from a physical element as well, obviously leading up to competition? When does that start for you?
Preparing for a match usually starts whenever I get like called for one. So like I have a match coming up on Saturday, and I believe I got offered the match sometime around maybe mid-June. So I've been preparing for it since then. I don't actually remember. But when I'm preparing for a match, obviously I train every day, and I lift 3 times a week. And then I lift twice a week. And then the third day I'll do like these lactic capacity conditioning circuits to help get, just to help improve my conditioning and my muscle endurance so that I don't like burn out and get like an adrenaline dump in the middle of a match. And I'm training every day, but I'm also focusing on just improving my skills during that time. And I try not to think about like what my opponent might be doing or what they're like what their game is and what they're good at. I try to just like train and I only worry about myself. And usually when I do that, I perform a lot better. I feel like when I go out there and I'm so worried about like what the other person could do to me, or I'm thinking about what they're good at, I tend to like hesitate, or I won't go and play my usual game because I'm afraid they're gonna like defend it and they'll like catch me off guard. And usually when I go in there with that kind of mindset, I don't perform to my greatest potential.
So what sort of things are you doing with that like circuit stuff to help you stop like blowing your forearms out or whatever? You know, I know that's a common thing for me. I end up gripping so much my forearms are like rocks after, and then I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So what sort of stuff are you doing based around that?
So it's a lactic capacity circuit, which means that we go to a point where my muscles are burning and you keep pushing through that. So my current circuit is I'll do box jumps on a 12-inch box. I'll jump on the box and off the box as fast as I can for a time limit. So the last time limit we did with that exercise was 30 seconds. So the full circuit will be those box jumps for 30 seconds on as fast as I can. Then I get a 30-second rest. Then I'll go up to the chin-up bar and I'll do like a 90-degree isometric chin-up hold for 30 seconds. And then I get a 30-second rest. Then I'll go over to the sled with like the sled push, and I will try to sprint down and back with it. And right now we're doing it with 3 plates, so I believe it's about 215 pounds. And I'll go back and forth as many times as I can for 30 seconds. Then I get a 30-second rest. Then I'll take an 8-pound medicine ball, and I'll do like a chest pass against the wall. So the wall will be like right here, and I'm just going like this with it for 30 seconds as fast and hard as I can. And then I get 30-second rest, and then I'll do like a clean, and I'll be carrying a 60-pound sandbag up in my arms like this, and I'll try to keep my my arms like parallel to the ground. And I'll like walk back and forth across the gym with it for 30 seconds, and then I'll get 30 seconds rest. Then we'll repeat it again. Then I get a 5-minute break, and then we'll do it again twice. I'll get a 5-minute break, and then we'll do it again. It's really, really hard.
Yeah, that sounds fucking intense, to be honest. Like that sounds like, I mean, for me, I'll just be like, nah, I'm done with this. Like, I ain't doing this shit, you know? Like, why am I doing this? But no, I know what you mean. It's good for the brain as well, right? Because you're pushing yourself.
Yeah.
Like, they've got that talk. But do you have like a coach with you, running through that with you, motivating you, pushing you? Or is that kind of, they've given you the program, you go do it and implement it?
Yeah, so I lift at a gym called DeFranco's Gym, and basically how it's structured is they have group training sessions where they'll have a bunch of different people in the room at once doing their own workout program. So I do have a trainer in there who's watching me and coaching me through it, but I can do the workout independently and I time myself. But it's nice to be in that group setting because you have all those other people like motivating you and pushing you, and then the trainer's also pushing you. So it's like really good. I feel like if I was doing that workout alone by myself, I might just like quit in the middle of it because I'd be like, no one's holding me accountable. And it's really like, it's a really hard workout. It's like almost inhumane. Like what it does is it prepares me for 10-minute matches and then multiple 10-minute matches. So a lot of tournaments I do, every match will be 10 minutes maximum, and then I'll have multiple of them. That is, of course, if like they don't end in a submission. So it just prepares me to be able to do that. And then the 5-minute break kind of simulates like the minimum amount of time I would get between matches. So it's like the closest we can get to replicating competition day. So
And are you doing
it's
that
intense.
even like a few days beforehand, or is that like where you rest and recover and maybe just light roll in or anything like that?
Usually my last lactic capacity circuit will be on the Monday before a competition. So I'm competing Saturday, so I did my last circuit workout on Monday, and I'm not going to lift the rest of the week. And then usually I train hard, jiu-jitsu, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, taper it down on Thursday, like a couple light rolls. I kind of like to just go about by how my body's feeling. Usually I'll take the Friday off. Unless I feel like really good, then I'll like go in and drill. But usually I'll take the Friday off because like a lot of times I'm traveling for tournaments anyway, so Friday's like travel day. So Thursday's usually my last day of training before the competition.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's usually light.
Sorry, go on.
No, that's it. It's usually a light training session.
I was going to say, sometimes it's difficult, isn't it, to like stop as well, like because you enjoy it so much, like especially the rolling and things like that, and also to not always go 100%. Like when you said with the light rolls, there's a part of you that's still the amount of times I go to people, just go for have a little light roll, yeah, and they're like, yeah, okay, and then suddenly we're trying to rip each other's necks off, like everything's going nuts, and I think I was only meant to have a light one, like why are you doing this to me? So I suppose it's the same thing. Like it's a good thing that you've got that quality and that skill to be able to rein it in on those light days and prepare properly for your competition.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's hard because the days leading up to the competition, you really want to like feel good about your jiu-jitsu. So sometimes like you ask someone to flow, but you still want to like kind of win the roll, or like not necessarily win the roll, but make sure that your moves are hitting smoothly and you're timing everything right and you're not missing a step. And sometimes to be able to do that, you have to go a little bit harder, and then that kind of ruins the point of the flow roll. So it can be like a little bit of a challenge, but I have like really good training partners that if I tell them I need to flow roll and I'm competing this weekend, they will like work with me. Some of them will like kind of like give me the kind of roll that would make me feel good and confident about going into the match, like kind of like let me beat them up a little bit. It's like, it's nice. I have good training partners.
Are you like quite a competitive person? Like, do you find that you're competitive at pretty much everything you do, or is it strictly like jiu-jitsu and stuff like that? Or if you were going to go race someone in a run, you're like, I'm going to win. I'm going to beat you, like, and it's 100% every time for these like any mini little competitions in life.
Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely super competitive about everything. Yeah, I feel like I've always tried to like one up people, stuff like that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Want to be number one, right?
Yeah, I want to be number one. What's the big deal?
So you said you're competing on Saturday. Where's that going to be, and where can people watch that, and who's that going to be against, and all of that stuff?
So I'm fighting Fatima Klein, who is a brown belt out of Black Hole Jiu-Jitsu. She is also an MMA fighter. She competes for Invicta. If you know what that is, that's an all-women's MMA organization. And usually people that fight out of that organization, a lot of them get, I guess, inducted into the UFC, which is cool. She's also like a really high-level competitor. She's ranked in the world at 135 pounds. I believe she's number 7. She got 3rd at ADCC East Coast Trials in the US, which is also a huge deal. So I'm really excited to fight her. It'll be on Rise Invitational, which will be at the Space in Westbury, which is in Long Island, New York, and it'll be live streamed on Flow Grappling. And it'll be at 125 pounds, so I'm bumping up a weight class for this match, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, how are you carrying that extra weight? Are you feeling all right with it, or do you feel a bit sluggish?
I mean, I am actually not 125. I don't think I'll ever weigh 125 pounds. I walk around usually at 115, but I take a lot of matches at 125 because there's not a lot of opportunity for people that are my size, because there just aren't a lot of us, so it's kind of hard to get matches at that weight, but I can get tons of matches at 125. So I'll just like move up, and then I just focus on trying to make my jiu-jitsu as good as I can, and I'll lift weights so I can get stronger to try to keep up with them. And, you know, see what happens. I do my best.
Yeah, so you're excited for the weekend, because it does sound like you're going to be fighting with a nice animal in there who's got a bit of experience as well. So I suppose that's a big buzz for yourself as well. Like if the competition,
if I win this match,
it's a motivator. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. It's a big match for me. If I win, I'll be like, it's like a big deal for me. It'll be cool.
Sorry, you can probably hear the seagull going nuts in the background there. Bloody thing. Was Invicta from was Valentina Shevchenko? Did she come from Invicta? I can't remember. There was someone that's come from there. I know a lot of females have, but I'm sure she come from there with doing a kickboxing stuff or something like that.
I'm actually not sure because I really don't watch MMA.
That's all right. I'll get someone to fact
Not
check
even,
it
I
at
have
some
no
point.
idea.
Um,
Yeah.
what tips would you give for someone who like wanted to improve their jiu-jitsu game? Let's just say like white belt going up. What sort of tips would you give them to get better?
The most important thing I would say is to be consistent. There are a lot of people that will start jujitsu and they will train, let's say, 6 days a week for a couple of months, and then they will stop showing up for a couple of months, and then they'll come back and they'll get their ass kicked by people who maybe trained 3 days a week but were consistent throughout the entire time. So I definitely think that being consistent is really important for skill development and also just keeping your mind in the game. So definitely train as much as you can. Stick to your training schedule. I know like things happen, but definitely consistency is the most important thing. I also believe that asking questions is really important. And that also ties into being mindful in your roles. So, for example, a lot of people, when they get to a certain point, like when they know like enough moves, they'll kind of just go into training and they'll roll really hard. And when like they'll just kind of move intuitively and their mind will be somewhere else. So they'll be like rolling based off of muscle memory and not consciously trying to work on certain things. Like a lot of people will just roll intuitively and they'll be playing songs in their head. And then at the end of the training session, they'll have no recollection of what just happened. So I think it's like really important to go into training and with goals, specific goals that you want to work on so that you're being present and you're always making improvements. Because if you're always working on something, then you're always going to be getting better. And then when you're consciously working on something, your roles will be a little bit, I guess, lighter paced. So you'll be able to remember what happened in your training. And then you can go and ask your coach questions because you'll be able to explain a situation to them. And they'll be like, okay, this is what you did wrong. Here's how you can fix it. So definitely asking questions, being mindful, going into training with things you want to work on are my top 3 tips.
Have you ever done jiu-jitsu with your eyes closed, like when you're rolling? Have you ever tried it?
Actually, when I get pictures back from tournaments, my eyes are closed like most of the time. I feel like when I'm escaping a position, I'll close my eyes and go by feel. When I'm wrestling, I close my eyes. Like I actually do jiu-jitsu with my eyes closed all the time. I think it's like out of fear, honestly. But yes, I do that.
It's a weird feeling for sure. Like my professor said to us yesterday, he was like, "Right, we're gonna do just 5 minutes, eyes closed. You're not allowed to open them, and that's it." And like it was just like, "Let's roll." And I was like, "Okay." And then honestly, I feel it was weird. It's so hard to explain, but it was like so technical because I didn't open my eyes the whole time, and neither did obviously the guy I'm rolling with, and you just feel everything. And when you watch it or you see people doing it, you're like, you want me to do that with my eyes closed? Are you sure? Like, that you're not going to be losing your teeth or breaking a finger or whatever. But then when I actually did it with my eyes closed, I was like, yeah, this is mental. And then the next row, I just said to the guy, should we just do this one with our eyes closed, like for a laugh? And he was like, yeah, all right, we'll do it again. And yeah, so that's what I was saying. Like, it's if you've never done it, if anyone's never done it, then they should give it a go with their eyes closed, as long as their training partner's up for it. And I think you'll definitely, as well, when you say about being more present, you're definitely more present in that moment because you're really concentrating on all your movement, how you're holding someone, etc., etc.
Yeah, for sure. Like when I'm escaping a position, I'll usually have my eyes closed because it helps me like not panic and focus better. Like especially if someone's like on my back and their arms are like in my face and their legs are everywhere. Like usually I have like my eyes closed and I'll just like work my hand fights because I'm just like because people's hands are like in my face and around my neck and it's just like too much. Like if I have my eyes open, then I'm just gonna be like, oh my god. So it definitely helps me focus to have my eyes closed when I train sometimes.
What would you say is your like maybe top 2 favorite submissions to go for? And I've just got to close the door that's next to me because these seagulls are doing mad in. But yeah, top 2 submissions.
I really love inside heel hooks. I think they are so satisfying to hit. I feel like I also really love, I don't know, I really love all submissions. Like, I guess maybe a rear naked choke, because that's also very satisfying, because it's always like a challenge to break through the hand fighting. So if you can actually sink in a clean rear naked choke, that's also really satisfying. So rear naked choke and inside heel hook.
How important do you think the leg games got within jiu-jitsu? Because I know it's been around for a little while now, but I don't think it was looked at as much for a long period of time. It was quite neglected, and then from my experience, it's like suddenly becomes such a heavy, like drill legs, drill heel hooks, drill knee bars, whatever it is. And I'm not saying obviously the upper body gets neglected as much because it obviously gets trained, but I just think legs have kind of taken over in a lot of people's minds for the submission, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely think understanding the leg game is super important. If you train at a gym where it's like they don't like leg locks, or they're more of maybe a top game kind of positionals type of gym, I definitely think it's important if you want to compete at high levels, you have to know how to defend them at least. You have to be able to not get heel hooked or not get toe holded. Like, you need to know how to heel slip. You need to know how to like misalign your knee with their hips if they're going for a knee bar. You need to know how to defend ankle locks. Like, you definitely need to know how to defend leg locks, even if you don't want to be the type of person to maybe use them, because it is a big part of the sport now. And if you're not learning leg locks, you're definitely falling behind.
And how much studying are you doing sort of outside of class? Like, do you watch instructionals or anything like that? Or is that just like you time, zone out, forget about training?
I'll watch instructionals like a couple times a week. Like, sometimes I really just need to zone out and do something else. Like, but usually I will watch instructionals a couple times a week. I don't like to do it every day because I don't really enjoy watching instructionals. I just do it because I know I should be doing it. But like, when I watch instructionals, I kind of just, after about 30 minutes, it makes me feel like I could just fall asleep. I don't understand how there are people that can like do it all day, like they love it. Like, I just think it's so boring.
It's like John Danaher. Like, I love his instructionals, right? I love them, but at the same time, I hate them because he'll spend like 35 minutes talking about just how to stand up properly, and I'm just like, John, bruv, like, I can see it, I get it. Like, surely this can be put into like 3 clear connective points. You know what I mean? Like point A to point B to point C. And honestly, I was laughing. It was like 35 minutes of him just saying how to get up and why, and like obviously the spine alignment and all this stuff. And it's great knowledge, but I was like, man, like it's going to send me to sleep. Like, because John's got quite a soothing voice, I think, as well. That's just
He does, yeah.
take. He's just like chilled, relaxed. I'm like, oh man, I put that on late at night. I watch it for a bit, and then I'm suddenly asleep, and I'm like, did I even take any of that in? Like, shame on me if I didn't. But yeah, just cracks me up. So I can relate to what you mean with the instructionals and stuff like that. I think it needs to be in like small pockets rather than long durations.
Yeah, definitely.
How important do you think obviously it's a bit of a silly question because you're not going to say they're not important, but like the fundamentals, getting them under your belt, because there's some people that I know that sometimes train just the advanced classes and never go back to doing like the basic fundamentals of jiu-jitsu.
I definitely think it's important to learn the fundamentals in the beginning, just because when you're first learning jiu-jitsu, you're not going to be able to understand or perform the advanced moves yet, because like doing the fundamentals kind of teaches you like basic body movements and basic like positional advancements and just very basic braking mechanics, like just things like that you're going to need to know in the future, even if when you're in live training you maybe can't hit like the basic moves that you learn in the basic class. Like, for example, you can't hit like that that like top mount escape where you kind of overwrap the arm and bump them off you, or if you can't hit like a basic armbar from closed guard anymore, like they just teach you like basic skills that you will need to know in the future. So it's definitely important that you learn them and that you drill them, because they will teach you how to move your body, and they'll teach you very general concepts that you'll need in the future.
And who sort of like inspires you in jiu-jitsu? Who's like your idol? Who do you look up to and think like, I want to be like them in the jiu-jitsu game, how they maybe perform and compete?
I feel like I don't have a lot of idols regarding like competitors. I feel like the people I look up to the most are just like my day-to-day training partners and coaches, because they're just like genuine, honest, hardworking people who really only care about getting better and self-improvement, and they just go out there and they compete. They'll take any match, any opportunity, and they'll go out there and they'll do their best, and then win or lose, they'll come back and they'll just learn from the experience. And like they're just, I don't know, they're just like really good people, and I just like want to be like that kind of person, just like a good, honest, down-to-earth, hardworking person that just focuses on improving themselves and trying to be the best they can be in all aspects of life.
Do you think that helps you perform better as well, because you obviously respect your team so much and idolize them to an extent and their qualities? Does that make you want to work a bit harder to perform for them as well?
Yeah, I definitely want to, when I compete, I want to like look good, like not just for myself, but for my team, for my coaches, because I feel like they work so hard. Like my teammates and coaches are so good, and I want them to share in all my wins. Like I want to like make sure they get credit. I want to help bring their names, like put their names on the map. Like if I could get on like a big show, I want to make sure that people know like, oh, she trains with Jason Rao and Nick Ronan, and these are her training partners, and this is the gym she trains at, and like her coaches are really good. Like I want everyone to share in like my victories, and I want like every victory that I have to not only help me like elevate as like a competitor and a name in the sport, I want it to bring up like all my teammates and my coaches' names as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great motivator, in my opinion as well. And that's a good quality to have, because there are some people that are quite, I don't want to say selfish, but they only care about them, their records or whatever, and there's never a kind of any respect to the people that are training them or whatever. And it's good that you want to elevate your team and kind of put them on the map as well with your successes. I think that's a great quality to have, personally.
Yeah, because I like see them work every day, and they all work so hard. They deserve to be given not only like credit, but like they deserve to have their names put out there as well. So if I can like help with that, that's like the least I can do for all the effort they put into me.
Yeah, sorry about that. So we cut off. That's my fault. My computer decided to shit the bed, basically. But yeah, I think you were saying about Gordon Ryan. I'd asked you about his personality, like, and all that stuff, and then you'd said you'd met him. So yeah, just go from there if you want.
Yeah, so I actually know Gordon because I used to train with him and Danaher in the Blue Basement a couple of years ago before they decided to move to Puerto Rico. So I know him like not too well, but like he is a very nice guy. He's actually pretty quiet in person. He's the type of person that just kind of like shows up and minds his business and does what he's supposed to do in training, and then just kind of goes about his day. Like when you meet him in person, he's really not at all like his Instagram personality. I do believe that his Instagram personality has played a part in like his success and his ability to get like high matches and higher pay, and he's definitely helped bring the sport to a new level regarding like how much athletes can make, and he's really helping make this sport more mainstream, which I think is really incredible. So his online personality really doesn't bother me because I know it's like a little rough around the edges, but in general, like it's done more good for the sport, I think, than harm, because he's really bringing the sport to a new level. So what's a little shit talk, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm a fan of
Yeah,
that style of promoting as
yeah,
well.
for sure.
I think it's great, and if it's making, like, again, if it's making you money, what's wrong with it? I think the people that are maybe don't like it are probably the ones that are a little bit bitter, in my opinion. But what do I know, right? What was it like training with those guys and their mentality? How was that sort of training with all of them and learning from all of them?
It was a pretty incredible experience. At the time, it was like all I ever wanted. I started training with them when I was 17. I actually switched to online high school so that I could train with them because John would only teach the morning and noon classes at Henzo's in the city. So I couldn't go to public school and do that. So I convinced my mom to let me switch to online high school so that I could go train during the day and then I would just do my schoolwork on my own time at night. So that was pretty incredible. Like I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, take the train to New York. I'd train in the morning and in the afternoon, and then I'd just go home and go about my day. But training with them really helped me. It brought me to a whole new level, like technically. I feel like before I started training there, I had really no conceptual understanding of jiu-jitsu. I just knew like moves and I knew how to tie them together and I knew what situations to use them in. But then when I got to Henzo's, like the room was so high level that nothing I ever did worked on those people. So they kind of brought me to a whole new level. They taught me like how to escape things. Like I had no ability to escape anything. They taught me like guard attention. I had no guard, no ability to retain guard. They taught me leg locks. They taught me wrestling. I had no wrestling. I still am not good at wrestling, but I have some basic knowledge of like how to win a hand fight in wrestling, which can then open up shots and back takes and stuff like that. So even though I don't train with them anymore, like what I learned has given me like definitely has a lasting impact on my jiu-jitsu and the way I approach training. Like they were the type of people or the people that told me like, oh, you're supposed to come into training with goals and to work on those goals and that will help you get better and you should ask questions after training. So that's kind of where I got all those ideas from, and now I carry it into the rooms I train in now.
And what are your future plans going forward? Where are you seeing yourself? What's like the next sort of jump for you?
So my goal right now is to get signed to one championship. They recently opened up a 125-pound division for submission grappling. They used to have a 115-pound division, but they just closed it because there aren't really enough girls. So they just opened up 125, and my goal is to get signed and compete against the best girls in the world on that stage because it's pretty much the biggest stage for martial arts at this point. It's even bigger. It's significantly bigger than the UFC. So that's my next goal, and we'll see where I go from there. But that is right now, that's what I want, and I want to be their 125-pound world champion a few years down the line.
And would you say you're making okay money within jiu-jitsu? You don't have to answer that. Obviously, it's private to you, but are you doing all right with it, or like sponsorships and stuff like that? Has that been challenging to get sponsorships and people involved, or has it just naturally kind of occurred as you've progressed and competed more?
I feel like it's naturally occurred, but it's definitely not enough for me to like live off of. So the thing also about one championship is that they do pay like a lot, especially for like submission grappling. So that would also be another bonus to competing for them, is that I would be able to like live off the amount of money I would make competing with them. And then I could dedicate more time to jiu-jitsu and less time to say like working a part-time job or something like that. So that would also be very cool. That'd be a very good benefit to getting signed.
What are you studying, if you don't mind me asking?
Right now I'm studying exercise science because I was thinking about going to physical therapy school, But after working in a couple of physical therapy offices, I decided that that is not what I want to do. But I'm still going to finish out my exercise science degree because I only have one more semester left. Like I want to get my bachelor's degree and then I'm done with school.
And then and then after that, what are your plans after that in education or anything like that? Just completely done and job and hope that this when the signing comes, that'll be great. But is there any backup plan for you, or is it all your eggs in one basket?
It's like all my eggs in one basket. Like I will hopefully I get signed to one soon. That's definitely like the goal. But my I I am gonna look for a part-time job just to help me cover my training expenses when the semester starts. Like I'm kind of taking a break right now from everything, just kind of relaxing this summer and thinking about what I want to do, just pretty much training and that's it. Because like before the summer, I was working 3 jobs and going to school every day and also training. And then I train out in Long Island and I live in New Jersey. So it's like 3 hours round trip. So it was just like so much that I decided to take this summer off um, and just kind of relax and figure out what I want to do. And then hopefully soon I can get signed to one and I'm going to finish school this year and then we'll just kind of see where life takes me.
What um what other hobbies have you got? Obviously, so when you're taking time off, and do you do anything else? Tennis, like surfing? I don't know. Anything else? Any other hobbies?
Uh, I mean, not really. Like, I pretty much only do jujitsu and lift. I like to go to the beach sometimes, but that's like pretty much it. I don't have like other hobbies. Yeah.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. Like you're just focused and like what you like, right?
Yeah.
I'm similar, honestly, with that. I have like a couple of things, and then that's it. Like someone's like, "Oh, come do this." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, whatever." Like, I'll come try it, but why? I don't really want to invest my hard time into it because my time's important. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've kind of I think I've addressed everything that I wanted to address with you. Is there anything you'd like to add at all? And where can people find you on social media or contact you for podcast appearances and other bits and bobs?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Sophia Cassella BJJ. Pretty much it.
Yeah, nice and easy. No YouTube channel, no instructional channels on YouTube or anything like that.
Nothing like that. Just Instagram.
Cool. And if they want to watch your um, fight on the weekend, that's through Flow Grappling.
Yeah, it'll be on Flow Grappling and the event starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, I'm glad you dropped that in there because my English followers will be like, "Oh, 6:30, what's going on?" And obviously for them, it's about a 5 hour difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on and talking to me. And yeah, basically that's all I've got for you. I'll chat with you for a couple of minutes off stream if you're fine with that, and then yeah, we'll go from there. But yeah, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.